Uprisers, hi, it is Trisha LaCroix once again with Sacred Uprising Institute in support of the Sacred Uprising Conference. Yay! We won't dance this time. Last time we did a little jig when we said conference.
Well, you know, we're excited.
We're very excited. We're really excited. Well, as you know, I have Christy, the transmuting butterfly, once again. She doesn't own the word, but she is the word.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Yeah. So I'm so happy to have everybody that's going to be showing up for this. This is my series called Calling in the One. And I can't wait to share with you what I have for you today. And but let's go over just a few announcements. Sue Moulton, you are the winner of our crystal for subscribing to our YouTube channel. So Sue Moulton, please, if you could get back to us, because we want to get this out to you. And if we don't hear from you, let's say by Monday, then we're going to go ahead and choose yet another winner. It's very hard to find these people, especially when you're not Facebook friends with them.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows Sue Moulton, please help us with that.
Please.
And then the big news, the exciting news.
The one we were dancing for.
Yeah, the one that we were dancing for is our conference. That is September 18th, 19th, and 20th of September, just outside of Santa Cruz, California. Go check it out. It's mountmadonna.org. You were saying that you were, somebody just posted about looking at the website for Mount Madonna. The vibration of it is amazing. Terry Stanley, who's one of our teachers, knows of people that have gone there, and that people rave about it. Looking at the pictures is serene. I get to go see it in a few weeks. I'm very excited. I'm doing a site inspection. Yeah, I'll put you in my suitcase. It's all good.
Yeah, I can't carry that.
I got rollers. So they have a bookstore. They have outdoor activities. They have meditation areas. They have a temple. They have the lodging and the meals are all included in the price. And I'm actually shocked. I looked at many different, I should say maybe about 5 different venues. Nobody had better pricing, and it wasn't as beautiful as what we found. So to get there, you'll fly into San Jose, and then it's an hour drive, but we will most likely be having a van to take people. So so you guys don't have to have additional expenses for that. So please, I want you to consider, if you're interested in coming to the conference, we will here shortly have an area on our under construction website for you to go ahead and to register,
get more info, subscribe to the updates, I'm sure, as well.
Yep.
Where you can get the emails to you with that information. Like
she just added more a to-do list for me. Oh gosh, now I have to do this. But so we're going to be having emails, and we'll keep everybody informed about that. We're a little bit behind, but we're going to get there. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and start.
Before you start, though,
I
want to let you know, I told her in the last video, but I just want to reiterate it on your video, because everyone who is watching Calling in the One, the series, some people have reached out to me that are my friends that are watching, and they have started implementing the steps you speak on every week, and they have started transforming their life and calling in the one and clearing out the altars and loving, and now with the topic of today, loving yourself.
Loving, and today's about loving ourselves.
So I'm really excited, because people are actually like, oh my God, it's working.
I'm so excited to hear that, number one, because everybody, what the one was for me, what I have, that joy and peace and that sacredness, I want everybody to have it in the form that they desire. So we also, that being said, Bliss is going to be coming onto the video in a little bit, and she will talk about what she is doing to call in the one. I did mention, I believe it was last week, about the covenant that you can write and put it out to the universe. And I did mine in a letter. It was a love letter to my beloved, and I wrote it a year before I met him, over a year before I met him, and I gave it to him for Valentine's Day this year, and she has done the same. So she'll be coming on a little bit later. So that being said, I want to read a quote to you, and this has to do with all of our teachers and this platform. And I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. I'm so grateful for the wisdom keepers, the teachers that we have on this platform, because their life is a true reflection of what they're teaching. And the ultimate level of inspiration is to show others what's possible is through your own actions. And so I'm very grateful to be aligned with these beautiful beings that are here to awaken consciousness. Well, it's already awakened, but to anchor in consciousness of infinite love. And that's what it's all about, right? When we talk about oneness, when we talk about anything that is good, of purity, of astrology, of the conscious evolver, prayer, Christ consciousness, it's all having to do with infinite love. So that being said, on the subject of love, I'm going to talk about loving yourself. It's really amazing when, before I do videos, a lot of times my guides will tell me to go look at a book, and that there's something in the book that I need to read for the video that we're doing. And today was, I've mentioned this book before, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And she says something that I think is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to read just two sentences. Only what you have not given can be lacking in any situation. Only what you have not given. We're going to talk about that when it comes to self-love. What the love that you have not given yourself is what is lacking when you're trying to call in love. The other thing she says is the sole responsibility of a miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. And that's where the spiritual journey starts. Love. And loving yourself. If you want to know God, know yourself. If you want to feel God's love, love yourself. My journey to love started off, and I needed it, and I'm grateful for it. You know, we add adjectives to love, infinite love. We say, unconditional love or conditional love, which, again, I've said this several times, that love does not need an adjective. But and if it's conditional love, it's not love. But growing up, it was very conditional, that if I was a good girl, I would be loved. If I did what I was told, I would be shown love. If I didn't do what I was told, I would be ostracized from the family, set aside, and I was not allowed back into the family until I was punished and that I paid and repented for my sin. And I found if I didn't mirror what my parents wanted or the church wanted or the adults because we have to obey, right? So the adults, if I didn't mirror back to them what they wanted to see, love would be taken from me. When I left the church, my mother said, I should have gotten rid of you at birth. So you have these things that I had this enriched, I like what Terry said, this very rich childhood that taught me what love was and what love was not. It's one of those reasons that I can have a conversation with somebody and I can feel that energy flow. If something's not flowing, I know something's off, right? But what I ended up doing for most of my life is still trying to mirror everybody. That's why I was good at sales, because I would mirror what people wanted. So therefore, you buy from people that you like, right? But I was lost not loving myself, and I was attracting people to me that would always leave me. So I was only perpetuating the abandonment that I always had as a child. I was abandoned by God. I was told that God would abandon me when I sinned. My parents abandoned me when I didn't do what they want, or I didn't speak the way they wanted or react the way that they wanted. I was abandoned by everybody that surrounded me because they were all part of the church if I was not what they wanted me to be. So when somebody is stepping away from me, I feel it because that's what I was taught. That's what it was very, very heavy. It's heavy for me. In fact, yesterday I could feel somebody's energy pulling back, and I put myself in a position going, okay, Trisha, you don't suffer, because I would go into that. That's a trigger for me, where I would go into that suffering mode and go, what did you do? You weren't pretty enough. You weren't good enough. You're not doing this. And then I start really beating myself up for where I could improve, instead of seeing I'm fine, it's just life.
Right.
So so I went through that. everybody does. So I'm not different from anybody else. My story isn't any better or worse than everybody else. We all have that. And it created within me self-loathing, picking myself apart. I was the tall redhead with freckles and glasses and braces that wasn't that attractive. All my friends can attest to it. So I didn't like the way I looked. I remember crying in the car because I was telling my parents, I'm ugly. And my parents, they didn't. Go ahead.
You just said all my friends can attest to it. That is a reflection of how you allowed other people's perception of you operating yourself.
Oh, absolutely. The other people's perception were in the driver's seat of who I was. Yeah. I was not in the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. I was along for the ride, letting them take me down the back roads and whatever journey they wanted me to go on. So if their intention was to hurt me, oh my God, they destroyed me. If their intention was to be my friend, then I was fine. And so it really was a huge, and then it ended up as I was growing and being a young adult, is just offering myself to any man that would even just show me any attention. Because I felt that was love. That, okay, they accept me, they want me. So my worthiness was not based on wholeness. My worthiness was based off of my broken pieces. And broken people connect to other broken people's places, right? So no man or no friend or no family member could ever give me what I needed because I was broken and I was connecting to them in their brokenness, right? Absolutely. So I remember a friend saying to me, and I had made a lot of strides, right? We have many different layers. We make strides towards love. And I had made some grand strides, but I still wasn't where I needed to be. And we'll never totally be where we need to be, but I needed to go a lot further in my journey. And I had a friend say to me, Trisha, you need to understand your worthiness. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm worthy, I'm badass, and there was ego. And that's another symptom of self-loathing, is when ego is so great, that is your wall that you put up so people don't see your self-hatred, right? Yes. So I said, okay, and I started going on this journey for self-love, but there was a defining moment that really broke through the way I viewed myself. I was put in a position where I had no control. I was at the mercy of every single friend that I had and every single person that loved me. I was stripped everything of who I was stripped away. And it was a horrific, horrific situation. And somebody that didn't know me only knew of a work that I did in a group of victims. And that's all they knew. I had helped their spouse, and they knew what I was going through, and they generously, they paid for me to get out of where I was. And it wasn't that I was having financial issues, it was something greater than that. And when it was said and done, I called that person up, or I texted that person, and I said, I really want to talk to you, because I had never even talked to this person on the phone before. And mind you, I had just been stripped, and you know the situation I'm speaking of. Everything had been stripped from me. Everything that I thought I was stripped from me. I had people that I loved so dearly had doubted my integrity, because it was so horrific what I had to go through. And I texted this person and I said, I would like to talk to you because I need to talk to you about how I can repay you. We need to set something up so I can get this taken care of. And that person's response to me, I'll never forget. It brought me literally, I was standing up against the wall when I read it. I fell up against the wall and I fell to my knees weeping at my friend Annette's house. And this person said, I would love to talk to you, but we're not going to talk about your repayment because you're worthy of this, because you deserve this, because somebody had to do this for you because this is what you deserved. And it was the first time anybody ever held a mirror up to my worthiness, even in my darkest hour, and said, it's enough. And in that moment, something healed in me, something opened in me, opened this gaping wound that I still have PTSD over. Opened that up and threw love into the cracks of it. And that was the beginning of my journey to love. To look at myself and not see it through the eyes of those that take their love away, but to look at myself through God's eyes and see the infinite love within me. And to go even with my mistakes, I'm enough. The journey to loving yourself is seeing yourself in your truth, to owning who you are. There are things that have been in my life. Could I have done it better? Yeah. But it also created the beauty of who's Trisha. Is taking those broken parts and knowing that those broken parts had so much divine love shoved into the cracks of it, that there's a strength that is beyond any imagination. It's to look at how far I've come, and I love myself because of it. I love the woman, the girl that I was, that lied all the time just so I would be accepted. Because if I had to tell the truth and it wasn't what somebody wanted, I wasn't loved. So when I tell the truth, stand in my truth, no matter what it is, I can go, it's okay. The journey to love, infinite love, has to start with yourself. It was a long fall and a hard landing to the infinite love of the divine for me. I had to rebuild the only way that I could take in the love of my divine Father. The only way I could take that in was to love myself first, was to honor my boundaries, is to see me through the eyes of my God. That was the first step. And I had to let go of everybody else's expectations. I had to let go of how people controlled me because of how they wanted me to look or dress or be or how I spoke. I had to go, yeah, that hurts me when somebody doesn't accept me, and it still does hurt me. That's not changed. But my response to it is, but I love myself more. And I got to honor my truth, because my truth was stolen from me as a child. I was raised to be what everybody else wanted me to be, and if I wasn't that, I was severely punished. So I'm going to give you an example, because I believe that words can only express something to a certain extent. So I'm going to give you a quick story. I was raised by a very strict father and mother, and I've made my peace with that, and I'm very grateful for how strict they were with me. It made me very strong. We were driving home from church one Sunday night, and my dad was in the front seat driving, talking very negatively about my sister and my brothers. And I was silent, because it always hurt me when he did that. And he got done with his tangent, and he said, and when we get home, you're in trouble. And mind you, my sister and brothers were not in the car, and I looked at him, and it was the first time I kind of talked back to my dad, but I questioned him, because you weren't allowed to question. I said, why? What did I do? He said, your silence is you disagreeing with me. So maybe that can put in perspective of why I couldn't find my truth. Because when you have to be other people's truth, how do you find your own? Because all this was printed all over me. all of my parents' truth was in my head, was in my aura, was in my mental body, my emotional body. It was my light. It was what everybody else put in me. I was their story. I was not my story. So how can you love yourself when the stories that are being written within you, you detest, and they're not who you are? How do you do that? So my adult life was going through this. Well, that was in 2014 that this person did this, gave me the greatest gift of opening myself to my self-worth. And I had a lot to learn, but it was a huge, huge moment. It was a gate that opened up. And then when I broke up with a man that I had dated for a year, I spoke about this in the first video. My guides told me, you have to become what it is you want to call in. You have to become love. And in that moment, I decided, okay, I got to change stuff. Because I have to become the vibration. I still was learning how to love myself. My God, I'm still learning how to love myself. But I was still learning, but I knew that if I became the vibration of love, everything else is going to just kind of fall into place, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's what I started doing. Falling into the vibration of love. Trust falling into the vibration of love. Taking love and wrapping it around me. Changing the way that I talk to people. When people hurt me, completely different way to respond to them. Completely different way of acknowledging others. Completely different way of decorating my home. Completely different way of calling in friendships and detaching, which we've already talked about, detaching from people that didn't love me the way I was learning to love me. Learning. I'm not there yet. None of us are there yet. None of us. But I was learning to love myself through the eyes of my God, and I knew when I was looking for the one that I would look in his eyes and see God, the eyes that I was learning to love myself through. What are you trying to call in? Love, infinite love. It is what the universe is made of. It is what we are made of. And as parents, we love our children. My kids, there's not an unconditional love. I want to weave the ribbons of infinite love through their DNA and through the words I speak with them and through the way I treat them. I've told my daughter many times, so when I buy you something extra, is it just mom buying it something to you extra, or is it me telling you that I love you? When I do this for you, when I do your laundry, whatever I do, is it mom really doing that, or am I telling you that I love you? When I sit there in silence and compassion and hear their cries, is it mom really listening, or is it mom saying I love you? How are you treating your children? Because they are love in human form that's growing up to know their self-worth and the infinite love that is growing through them. What are we putting into them? What are we putting into their DNA? What are we putting into their cells, the very cells of their being? What are we doing, putting on the altar of our friends? Are we opening ourselves and putting love on their altar and giving selflessly? What are we doing for ourselves? Because our outside universe is a reflection of our inner universe. So if we are throwing out hate, to me, I see that as I need to give compassion because they don't love themselves. I see my mother who doesn't speak to me, and the last time after my father died, I sat across from her and I offered her to really get to know her granddaughter. And my mother, all she could do was tear me down and tell her how evil I was and terrible I was. But I was able to look with her literally, and Courtney can attest to this, with compassion, and all I said to her was, over, Mom, this isn't about us. This is about you and Courtney. Please have a relationship with her. And she would look with the anger in her eyes and go off again. And her anger is based on, I'm not part of her religion, and I am standing in my truth. And my truth is no longer what she imprinted on me, and she doesn't recognize me anymore. Because I am my truth. I am my light. We are the light of the world. I am not her shadow anymore. I am me. I am all of me. And I love all of me. And there's still those slivers, those aspects of myself that I still want to change, that I still struggle with. And you know some of the things I struggle with, and it hurts me. It hurts me. It is a weight that is put on me that was not mine to carry. It hurts me, but I still have to own it because it's part of who I am today. Love yourselves.
Yes.
Everybody that I talk to and that is part of this platform, and even our viewers are part of this platform, don't kid yourselves that you are not part of it. The comments that you make, you watching it, you are also part of the anchoring into this new consciousness. You are part of this platform because you are made from infinite love. You are infinite love. When I look into your eyes and see your pictures, and the more you go on your sacred uprising, I see the brightness coming into your eyes. That's because God is shining through. You are infinite love in human form, having an experience with the label of your name. Love yourselves. Whatever your parents told you that hurt you, they lied to you, because they too are human and they didn't know love for themselves. What your pastors and what your leaders in your church and what your friends, the pain that they have, the burden of their hatred for themselves, don't carry it. You are love. You are loved. I have right here tattooed, it says loved, because I wanted to look down and remember I am loved regardless of what I look like, regardless of what's in my life, regardless of my lack or my abundance. I am loved. I am love. I am infinite love. And my desire is for it to flow through me to others, that when I can be part of people's lives or even passing them on the street, they can look at me and know, you know what? We know God exists because we've met Trisha and she is infinite love. And I want that for you too. I know God exists because this woman stands next to me and I see how God is changing and moving and bringing abundance into her life. And every single teacher on here, I know God exists. I look in my daughter's eyes like the song says, and I know he exists because I look in their eyes and I see him shining through. So how could you hate God? That is who you are and who you are becoming, and you are shedding away everything that does not serve the divine within you and does not serve God shining through you. Keep detaching and find love for yourself, because it's what you deserve. What you want in another, give to yourself. And I'll read it again. Only what you have not given, which you have not given, can be lacking in any situation. If you don't have the one, just feel so incredibly blessed that they have not come through yet, because you're still learning to love yourself and you want to capture the one at your highest vibration that you can. So on that altar of time, reverence it, honor it, because it's taking you to the highest vibration of calling in what the one means for you. Love yourselves. Oh my God, please love yourselves, because you deserve your love more than you deserve the love of a woman or a man or a child or a career or financial abundance. You deserve it more than any of those things can give you. You are everything you desire. It's already written in you. Anchor into it because it's who you are. Love yourselves. It's the first step on this spiritual path. It's the first step in your awakening. It's the first step in one consciousness. It's infinite love. Awaken to it. Be it. When your foot puts your foot on the ground, realize you are love in human form, touching the earth, blessing the earth.
As you were speaking, I mean, obviously I'm hearing tears, guys. Excuse me. But it's so incredible how you have just spoken about your experiences and what you've been through with your parents, with the religion, with everything. And truly, I mean, I can only stand here as just another layer, another perspective on that same, because as you were speaking on the meeting with your mother and your daughter, I mean, just last year,
yeah, you did.
I took my daughter to my adoptive mother, who's comparable to Mommy Dearest, just to give you an idea. And she started talking about her grandmother to my daughter, and this isn't the first time that she's spoken ill of her family. And growing up, she put negative, mental constructs into my head, and I don't want that for my child. So with love, I said, Maddie, let's go. And she started saying, oh, you're horrible. And my daughter, children know. My daughter's 8. She understands. Children understand, and they are witnesses to the negativity in the life that you live. They may not completely say it, but they see it, they feel it, and the danger is they can become it. So that's why it's so important as parents to make sure you're cutting those cycles that are negative by showing yourself love and truly becoming that love, because I promise you, you won't be a better parent than being a parent full of love, light, positivity, because your children are an energetic extension of you. So if you're working on yourself and you're loving yourself first, it's only going to reflect in your children. I love that magic. So I too stand with the truth. We need to stand in our truth. We need to stand in our love. In the religion aspect, I've always had a major love for God in my life. And one day I went up on stage, I would always offer my free time to the choir and to worship. And they brought me down saying, you're not good enough to be up there, because I was spiritually not aligned with them.
Well, and that's why I said, don't believe the lies.
Yes.
Because every path is the path to the divine. Don't believe the lies.
Yeah.
We have, there have been some of us that the church lied to us, the pastors lied to us. There's some of you, your spouses or your partners have lied to you. There's others that your friends or your family or your parents lied to you. Anything that does not say you're beautiful exactly where you are, your infinite love in human form, is lying to you. Anything that asks you not to stand in your truth is lying to you. And it's okay to say no without explanation. It's okay to put boundaries up. And you can put boundaries up with love. But if you do the intention, if you try to put up a boundary up just to hurt somebody, the intention is going to be there. But if you put up boundaries based on love, that's going to be felt through it. Mm-hmm. The infinite love of God, the flow of love of our Creator, of the universe, is what we're made of. Just like our children are made from our DNA, we are made from the Father's DNA. We are love in human form. So who are you to know better than the infinite not to love yourself? So that's why I say, if you want to know God's love, love yourself. If you want to know God, know yourself. It all starts within. All the inner work starts within. And part of that, Bliss, I'm going to bring you on here in just a moment. Next week, I'm going to continue this because I feel that this is so important. I'm going to be talking about, it's called Hest. It's a Jewish terminology, and it's unlocking the flow of love. And it's based on Kabbalah. So let me just explain that. Kabbalah is the ancient wisdom of the universe. And it creates magic in our lives and creates flow in our lives. And so I'm going to talk about this based on Kabbalah. But Kabbalah is just another word for God. It's just another word for... there is no word for God, so we'll call it Kabbalah for next week. But love yourselves. I'm still going through this journey of loving myself. And when I wrote my love letter to my beloved, it was my covenant to him. It was like writing a love letter to God, and that's what Rumi did. All of his poems were poems to God. The Book of Solomon in the Bible, it is about a love letter to God, to the twin flame. That's what it's about. And write that letter to yourself first, and tell yourself how much you love yourself. It's sort of like the Saturday Night Live where it says, I'm good enough. When he's looking in the mirror. But seriously, look in the mirror and go, you're perfect. And you know what? I forgive the girl I was yesterday because she was young. She didn't know. But I'm wiser today. And I make better choices today. And today I choose love. Above all else, I choose love in its most infinite, perfect vibration that I can grasp as a human. Love. On that note, I am going to bring Bliss on because we are going to talk about her covenant, her love letter, and let me just pull her up. Hold on. Proof. Okay. Bliss on. Christy is kind of there. You won't see Christy, but she'll be here. And she's gonna read her covenant, her love letter to her future beloved. I did the hey beautiful. Hi. So I wrote this. I wrote my own love letter, and I'm going to let you kind of take it over and explain what inspired you to write this, and then actually read this this letter that you wrote.
Oh, sorry. What's that?
I said would you please explain what inspired you to write the letter, and then read the letter that you wrote to your beloved, because the calling in the one is a beloved for you. I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Am I in there? All right, let's try this. Does that work better?
I think we're having some technical difficulties right now.
No.
There we are. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Great. Okay, good. What I was saying was that it actually began years ago when you and I first met, Trish. And you had such a steadfast belief in the one that you were calling in. And you were so dedicated and so determined. And you were posting on Facebook your covenants and your it was such a divine and deep love for this being, and you had no clue who he was. And it didn't matter to you what anybody thought, or if anybody mocked you or disbelieved you or wanted to be cynical. You had such a discipline and it was so beautiful to witness. And at the time, I was still in a connection, in a relationship with the father of my children, and I never even thought that I would be in a place where I would be writing my own letter. And then, life moves on and things change. And I uncoupled from the father of my children in October of last year, and have definitely been going through that process and all the beautiful gifts and lessons that go along with that. And then definitely in February, I got to this time and space where I recognized that I'm really ready to send out like a frequency and emit a message that is actually twofold. So it's not just for this being known as Bliss, and for the being that is being emitted to walk the path beside me, and that it's also the frequency that so many of us of love that we're holding and that we're sending out to source or God or spirit or whatever however each person defines it individually. So the covenant that I made is actually, it has a two-tiered frequency. So not only is it my heartfelt expression to the being that can come join me and walk the path, but it's also the invitation to source to call in the oneness that we all are.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's what's been so wonderful about this journey with you, and I'm anxious for you to read this so everybody can hear what your covenant and letter is that Bliss has been a huge cheerleader for me as I was going through this process. Not once was she thinking I was crazy. She, as I posted, once my beloved manifested in my life, and I really do believe that I created him. you know, that I created what has been, because everything that I've written and what I called out and what I became, he is. And so as I've been posting pictures and how loving and incredible this man is, Bliss has been right there with me, cheering me on, so happy, and saying, just keep posting. Because there's times I'm like, okay, it's so overwhelming. Maybe I should stop posting, you know, how this is actually manifested in my life. And you've said to me, don't, because it is allowing people to see what's actually possible. So I've invited Bliss on here because I wanted her to read it for several reasons. Because I want to challenge people to do this. Write what it is. Write a love letter to whatever it is you want to call in. I don't care what it is. Write a love letter for it. That's my challenge for you. And share it. And for Bliss to do that, to show you, yeah, and she can give you an example of what she wrote, but also for her to speak it, because I believe when we speak it into being. And so that's another way to do it, to put it out there and saying, this is what I'm calling in. And just based off of, because I've read what she's written, she's going to bring in something that is as big as the universe. So it's beautiful. It's exactly, Stuart, you got that right. So it's beautiful. It's infinite love in human form. So in whatever form it manifests in. So Bliss, would you share that with us?
With pleasure. Thank you. I have moved mountains to be here now, purified my fears in the coals that I journeyed all the way to hell to gather. While there, I transmuted the dark and returned it to love. I looked every demon in the eye and saw myself in the reflection. I loved each and every one with acceptance, a mother loving her entire kingdom. My love for you is so strong, I soared through all of the energy centers, fearlessly, knowing that only death could stop me from finding you. And even death I offered up, for there is no door that I am unwilling to go through. I call upon the magic of the stars, the guidance of the angels, and command the power of Thunderbird to unite our paths once more. For I feel the remnants of you in my soul. I know we were together once before. I remember. I still feel you in myself, in the parts that are divine, exalted, pure, ecstatic. I feel that this is us, what we created together before we created this journey to find each other again in our earthly human form. I trust that you have all the keys to the locks I created so that I will know it's you when I find you. Or shall I say, when you find me? For one thing I know, you must flow to me. You must climb the mountains, fall from the heavens, and walk through the coals to find me. For once you have been purified, faced your demons, and fearlessly walked through all your locked doors, here I am, a cosmic being, creating heaven on earth, love exuding from every cell of my existence, sitting regally, wings soft and high, on my sovereign throne, infinitely patient, awaiting you, calling in the one.
Oh,
Wow.
Tears again.
That's beautiful. You said to me that you weren't even going to limit the universe on how it manifests. So can you explain that to me? Or explain it to
yeah, of course, yeah. As I follow the path and really, you know, in training in this, what I've come to call our sovereign playground, our source playground. Like, we're all here to understand the source within us, or the God within us. And so yeah, I'm really following the path of sovereignty. And what I've come to understand about sovereignty is sovereignty has no control. Sovereignty is entirely about flow. And so for me to have any type of attachment or expectation or desired outcome of how this experience, this calling in the one will occur for me, has the potentiality to restrict it. And so I've learned, if I've learned anything yet, it's that in order to be in the flow, I must release all of my preconceived social conditions of who or what the one will be. And so that eliminates age, it eliminates gender, it eliminates even form. And so then I know that I'm in a true sovereign space of being open and receptive to what the calling in the one is meant for me in this time, in this place, in this space.
That's beautiful. When I was going through my journey, Faf, who is one of my guides, I've mentioned him several times, he told me by the words that I speak, he said, don't you trust me to go to different universes to pull in everything you could ever desire into one form. And I had to trust that. And that was difficult for me because it was just difficult for me. But I could never expect for it to be pulled in the way that it was pulled in, and in such a loving form, in such beyond the joy that I now know is beyond anything that I could have ever hoped or dreamed for myself. And so dream higher. In fact, allow the universe just to overflow you with more than you could ever. Don't put restrictions on it, just like you said. Don't put restrictions.
One of the things that I share with the initiates in the circle program that I run is that we're only limited by our lack of imagination. And so if we're limited by our lack of imagination, then I just want to like be completely open to all the possibilities. And I recently actually did a call with Daniel Scranton, who works with the Arcturian Council. And typically in the past, I haven't really connected into anything kind of like on the galactic realm. And yet all of his posts every day are just so aligned with the way that I think and the way that I speak. And so I had a 30-minute call with him, which was really amazing. It was a really cool experience. And one of the things that he really said was, again, just to not, to be open to all the possibilities. And he even shared that there was like a star lineage of energies being incarnated together on Arcturus. And so it's like there's just so many possibilities that perhaps I would never have even thought of. And there's so much going on right now on the planet in terms of these twin flames finding each other. And, you know, they hit this reality. And then when they actually find each other, it's like that reuniting. And I just think that all the possibilities just seem really beautiful and really profound.
So let me ask you a question. Where are you putting this letter? Are you putting it on an altar? Are you going to write this letter in different forms? What do you plan on doing?
Well, right now, I mean, it was a really huge step for me to acknowledge that I had even written it. You know, I had uncoupled last year, and so there was fears that people would judge me and think that it was too soon. And so of course that was my own fear, and I just had to come into a place of acceptance as the highest form of love, and that people are going to think whatever they want to think, and that I love them no matter what. So I had to kind of move past that fear. Even sharing it with you, Trish, like I had to like put it on like a few times, like working up the courage, and
right, I saw that.
And then even reading it to you, like I got so emotional, and it made me cry, which is very rare. And then finally posting it. And then it's like, it's the most amazing thing. Every time I push myself past a fear, it's just so incredible what opens up, because I've created space from restriction into expansion. And so, you know, the fact that so many people are resonating with the intention of it, it's all that fuel to the fire. It's adding logs to that source bonfire that we all are emanating.
Well, and we attract what we are. So I can't wait to see how it's going to manifest for you. I can't wait to see how this manifests. And that's what happened with me. I wanted to be proof of love, and I attracted love in human form. I showed this to you the other day. I have this. I wanted to put it in a Menuza, my contract. Now, my contract to my beloved won't go in here because I was able to actually give it to him. But I do have another contract that is to God. And I was going to buy a Menusa, but I was attracted to this instead, that this is where it's going to go because it's a holy scroll. It's what I'm putting on my altar. This is what I'm offering to God. And this is what I expect in return. It's what I have to become. So anything that we write that we want to call in, we got to become it. And there's many different paths to become it. There's many different ways to do it. But if you start with love, you're not going to go wrong because love incorporates everything. It is the molecule of everything that is.
I think that's really important though, Trish, because I think, you know, right now it's sitting in my journal and it's sitting out in display, and just what a beautiful next step to actually like encase the invitation in something sacred and put it somewhere where I will be reminded daily. I mean, part of what I do and what you've taught me through your experience was, and actually Daniel Scranton mentioned it as well too, was just to really like hold the intention in my heart every day and to constantly be thinking about the aspects and the joy and the ecstasy that this is going to create, and to really maintain that with consistency and dedication and pure love.
And I like
and also too, I'm also open to amazing plot twists.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how it comes, right?
Yeah, I
The
love plot twists.
We talk, if you're looking for financial abundance, so many of us think it's only going to come through a career, but it can come in many different forms. So why limit the universe on how things are presented to us? Lisa says, I have my own invitation on my altar next to my vision board. I mean, you can have a vision board. I'm going to be doing a vision board here this next week, and a vision board can be an altar. It can be what we post on Facebook. So, you know, brings a whole nother level. What you post on Facebook is also your altar. So what are you posting? What are you offering the universe? Because it's going to give it to you. In the way we speak, what we think, what are you offering the universe on the altar of your lips, on the altar of your mind, on the altar of your heart, and the altar of your actions and your words and your everything? What are you offering the universe? What are you asking the universe to present to you? We are the temple. We are. So what are we offering the universe? What are we? Because our words, the universe understands our vibration. Do our vibration, do our words match our actions and our intent and how we live our lives? And that's why, like you, Bliss, and Christy, and every other wisdom keeper that we have here, that's one of the requirements. It's one thing that I look for, is somebody whose life matches their words, because that's where the magic happens. And if any of us, and Bliss, I know you'd say the same, if we could wish anything for you, it's infinite love.
Truly.
So on that note, next week we'll talk about how to create the magic from the viewpoint of Kabbalah when it comes to loving ourselves. Bliss, thank you so much for being part of this. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you so much.
Love you.
I can't wait to see how this unfolds, and I'll have you come back and we'll go through it and see how it's working. So
sounds amazing, babe. Thank you.
All right, hold on.
Bye.
Okay, bye.